We're talking with Brad Johnson of Forecast the Facts. Brad, what was your reaction when you heard the news, the official news that 2012 was indeed the hottest in U.S. history?
Well, the writing was on the wall ever since the just extraordinary and just overly incredible heat that the country faced in March. Actually, that just put it so. By the time summer was rolling around, our fall and winter would have had to have been the coldest on record for 2012 to be anything other than the hottest year. So this is something that, if you've been paying attention, this is just I guess the reaction is I'm hoping it's good to see the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, and other media outlets report on this, because that's really, I think, what is so important, is that we recognize what we're doing to the weather.
Brad Johnson, campaign director of Forecast the Facts, and as a sort of campaign director, Brad, I'm sort of wondering, are there specific campaigns that you're going to run against this guy, the CBS meteorologist in Miami, or any other meteorologists for that matter who are also climate change deniers?
Yeah, we've actually we wrote a nice letter to CBS News, the president of CBS News, Jeff Fager, who used to work for Fox News. And we asked him, why are they promoting global warming deniers? He wrote back a nice note saying that, well, the weather will be wet, it'll be dry, it'll be hot, it'll be cold, and David Bernard will be there. So we're looking to take that, and basically get the American public to ask CBS News if that's really their position. And we've also already been running campaigns, and with the support of our tens of thousands of members, to challenge the American Meteorological Society, which certifies meteorologists essentially as scientists. And a lot of these TV people who don't have scientific degrees, who are certified by this society, are global warming deniers. And we've been challenging them on that.
This guy, David Bernard, who's the chief meteorologist at the CBS affiliate in Miami, has he responded at all to your efforts? He's I'm trying to remember if he's tweeted in response, but so far he has not, I would say. And yet Bernard has tweeted that the Earth is cooling. He's defended the Heartland Institute, which is a right-wing think tank. He's also Bernard has compared those who believe in global warming to mass murderers. Is that right?
Well, that's what the Heartland Institute did. Mm-hmm. I don't think Bernard went that far. But that's what he defended. When you're defending the Heartland Institute, that's the type of thing that you're defending.
And the Heartland Institute is funded by fossil fuel companies, right?
Fossil fuel companies, right-wing companies. In fact, that's the whole thing, is we don't even really know who funds them. But a lot fewer companies do this year than did last year, in large part because of the efforts of Forecast the Facts.
Now, in addition to all those meteorologists who are out there who are climate change deniers, there actually are some that are doing the right thing, right? There are some who are out there at some stations who are being particularly courageous given the corporate parents that they have, who are talking about these connections.
Oh, that's absolutely true. I mean, unfortunately, the reality is that most TV people, most TV meteorologists just run away from this incredibly important topic. But you see some of the hardcore deniers that you're talking about, and then you see some real heroes. Usually they're people with pretty good job security, but it's literally all over the country, from Rhode Island down to South Carolina even. You see meteorologists who are just explaining the facts.
And as far as a lot of people may think, wow, I trust my meteorologist, and he gives me the news. He tells me when it's going to be rainy or snowy, or whether schools are going to be closed because of icy roads. And they're pillars of the community in a lot of these local television areas. How is it that that this particular group of people came to sort of pass as being these climate change deniers? Is it simply just sort of the corporate parenthood that they have, that they saw the writing on the wall as far as what their corporate parents wanted them to do? Is it that simple?
I think there's a lot of different pathways. You're talking about, they're usually upper middle class, older, usually white men, and so their politics kind of reflect that. But it's reflective of, our Congress. These are people in positions of power and authority, and the fossil fuel industry and those who wish to support them have worked really hard to ensure that we're stuck in the status quo. So some TV meteorologists are evangelical Christians who don't want to believe in the science. Some of them are, conservative skeptics. Some of them just don't want to anger their management.
I think some of them, Brad, are just frankly dumb. I mean, in my experience in TV, both in local news and network news, there are some meteorologists who are very bright, who are scientific, who are well educated. There are also some meteorologists who are frankly not very smart. It doesn't take a lot of smarts to be on TV and to be compelling on TV. In fact, some people would argue that if you're too smart, you come across as being, you may condescend to your audience. So you want somebody who's a little bit more like your audience. And that's perfect for both your sports guy and your weather guy. The weather guy, in my experience, has not always been the brightest bulb, but he does a really warm job of telling you about the snow that's coming tomorrow.
Well, I don't know. I have to say in my personal experience that pretty much all the TV meteorologists that I've met, whether they're defending the science or attacking it, are really quite hardworking and quite intelligent individuals. And no matter whether they're kind of, what their IQ is, so to speak, the whole point is that they have an amazing responsibility, and what the work that they do actually saves lives. And so I don't think it really serves anybody to dismiss what they do. Whether or not you'd want to have a conversation about Foucault with them.
Okay, Brad Johnson, bring me back from the ledge. I'll acknowledge, yes, they do serve a greater purpose in our communities and warning us about bad weather, and they do serve lives. It's just I've always sort of been baffled at why they don't have a more sort of vigorous approach to science and to understanding sort of the global picture in all of these things. But Brad, again, for people who want to take action, people who want to get involved, they can go to your website. What are some of the others? Should they go up to their local weatherman at the state fair or whatnot, when these weathermen are out there doing their live reports, and say, hey, how come why don't you understand this? Should they be more involved in that sense?
Well, the first thing to do is to ask their TV meteorologists, what their take is, because most of, the reality is the majority just don't really want to talk about it, or I should say are afraid to talk about it, but they also have this responsibility to respond to their viewers. So I would say that, the basic question, go to Forecast the Facts, and then also contact your local meteorologist and ask them, do they support the science on climate change? And a good example of that is the American Meteorological Society last year put out a strong information statement on climate change, which is easy to look up. And any meteorologist worth their salt, there's no reason for them to disagree with it. And it's a clear statement of the science of how the fossil fuels that we're burning are changing the weather that we see in this country. And, as the survivors of Sandy and the drought and the derecho and the flooding that are going on, this is something that's affecting pretty much literally every single American already. And we have to, and that's why what these TV people do is so important.
Brad Johnson, campaign director for Forecast the Facts. You can follow him on Twitter @ClimateBrad. Brad, thanks so much for being part of the program. We appreciate it, and good luck to you.
Thank you.
Brad Johnson from Forecast the Facts. Take Action News continues after this.